Welcome to the Cheese and Alien Show. We apologize that we have not been with you lately. It was really crazy between the two of us last week, and so unfortunately we weren't able to provide you with a show. So luckily this week you have a twofer. We're going to talk about both of the races at Pocono and Iowa Speedway from the weekend before last, and then also we will be talking, of course, about Watkins Glen. First, want to start off with the shout outs. The first one is for Walmart. Okay, Walmart, of course, if you have one near you and you're a huge racing fan, you know that they offer and they supply NASCAR gear. So I wanted to show off my Walmart support, my one Walmart support that I have. Purchasing a Carl Edwards shirt, of course, living in the middle of Carl country, it's easy to find one. And also on this day, want to wish a happy birthday to Mr. Carl Edwards, celebrating another year of life. And wanted to show you support through this shirt, as well as something that we'll talk about later. Next shout out is for Girl Power. Girl Power? Okay, let me straighten this. Of course, if you've watched before, you know the Cheese and I, we are also not only NASCAR fans, but we are NHRA fans as well. And at Seattle, weekend before last, Erica Enders got her second win, which, of course, we were there for the first win, which was awesome. And then also Courtney Force receives her first win in NHRA drag racing. So congrats to both of the ladies over there in drag racing. Erica Enders winning in the Pro Stock, and then Courtney Force winning in Funny Car. Next shout out, which if you've watched in the past, this will come as a very big shock to you. I'm going to give a shout out to Brad Keselowski. Okay, let me talk about that. Of course, if you've watched before, Cheese and I are not Keselowski fans at all. But I will give him props for being a class act after Sunday's race. He was very respectful towards Ambrose and Ambrose's entire crew. I mean, the Stanley crew guys were walking by him and he's giving them high fives. He's telling them good job, congratulations. And that whole interview he had with ESPN afterwards, he was just stellar. And so I will give him a shout out for that one time that comes every once in a great long while where he actually acts mature in a situation like that. Alright, we're going to go on to talking about the Pocono and Iowa weekend. First, with the trucks. Congratulations, Joey Coulter. You got your first truck win. That is very, very exciting. And probably, as far as I can remember, the only exciting thing about that Pocono race. Well, I guess Leffler, he did struggle during the race and was able to come back and finish in the top 10, so that was a huge accomplishment for him. But I mean, the overall thing from the Pocono truck race, Joey Coulter gets that first truck win finally, and so a huge congratulations to Joey. Going on to state, several states over to the west. Of course, it's a favorite of mine, and I cannot wait to get there. It's a favorite, even though I haven't been there. Iowa Speedway, which we should, as they kept calling it, Ricky Stenhouse Speedway. Unfortunately, he couldn't get that fourth straight win at Iowa, but huge congratulations to Elliott Sadler. He got his fourth win of the season. And so that is very much solidifying, his reason to be atop of those standings. And Ricky couldn't get that fourth straight win, but all good things must come to an end. And Ricky finished in the top 5. He finished 5th, which shows that that's a good track for him. That's a track that he is strong at. And I can't wait for the day, I don't know what's wrong with my mouth these days. I cannot wait for the day when the Cheese and I are able to go to Iowa Speedway for a nationwide race, or even for a truck race, or even an Indy race. So that'll be a very exciting time. Next, I want to talk about Justin Allgaier. He was so close to that first win of the season, but he ended up second, which is a really good finish for him. He hasn't had the strongest season this year, and so for him to finish second, I think that was really awesome. So congratulations on that, Justin. Next we had Sam Hornish Jr., and he finished third, and he was also the final winner for the Dash for Cash that Nationwide put on, and so he won the $100,000, which I think he definitely deserves it, having two beautiful, adorable little girls that he has to support, and so I know he will put that money to good use. And also with the Dash for Cash at Iowa, he was able to win $100,000 for a lucky fan. Unfortunately, it was not the Cheese or myself, but huge congratulations to that lucky fan. Next, Michael Annett. That's his home track. His home is probably less than 30 minutes away from the track, and he finishes fourth. So another strong top 5 finish for Michael Annett this season, which is wonderful. And then also I would talk about Michael McDowell and Darrell Wallace Jr. Of course, they were driving the Joy Gibbs Racing Toyotas, and they finished 6th and 7th, which is very good for them. And of course, the other times that those two have been in those cars, they have run really well. So they are strong racers. And of course, we know that Joe Gibbs Racing is very strong nationwide. In the nationwide series, and so of course they were gonna do really well, and I'm glad that they had a finish to show that. Next, going back to Pocono to talk about that Cup race. First, want to give my condolences to the friends and family of the fan who unfortunately lost his life due to the storms that occurred that day, and I also want to continue to give up prayers for those who were injured in the incident, and I pray for a swift and quick recovery for all of those people that were affected. And with the the Cup race, of course we know due to the storm they had to end the race before they got all the laps in, and so a huge congratulations to Jeff Gordon. He definitely deserved that win. He's had several great runs this season, and now he finally has the finish that he deserves. This gives him, with that win, he gets a chance for that second wild card spot, and he has a shot at winning that second wild card spot as long as he does well. And if he gets another win in the next 4 races, of course, it's going to definitely increase his chances for that second wildcard spot and being in the chase once again. And I will give this is another, I guess this is a surprise episode, but I'm going to give props to Tony Stewart. He had several setbacks during the race at Pocono. He had a pit road penalty, and he had several other things that happened, and he drove the wheels off that car, and he got a 5th place finish. So huge props to Tony Stewart. And of course we all know that you can put him anything with 4 wheels, probably with 2 wheels, with 3 wheels, and he's gonna drive really well in it. And so he definitely showed that at the Pocono race. Next, on to the great state of New York, and talking about the road course races at Watkins Glen. So first, of course, we had Nationwide, and like I give a happy birthday to this man earlier, and huge win for Carl Edwards. We finally got to see a backflip this season. That's what the Cheese and I have been waiting for Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to do it in the Cup yet this season, but we were able to see one with his first nationwide start that he made of this 2012 season. And he also gets the first win for Scott Graves as a crew chief. So Scott Graves has a pretty good record for him going into Montreal. He is 100% on road courses as far as victories, and he is 100% for victories in the Nationwide Series. So he's got some great odds going with him. And going along with that Roush Fenway camp, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He has been practicing his road course skills, and he did that out in Utah, and it definitely showed this past weekend. He got a great finish, and he got lots of help from a great teammate that he is going to have to work with this coming weekend in Montreal, in Billy Johnson. Billy Johnson has been a huge help to him in helping him figure out road courses and what to do and everything like that. And so I'm so glad that Ricky will have Billy Johnson this coming weekend at Montreal to help him continue to improve at these road courses. And also, with the great finish that Ricky Stenhouse had this weekend, he is closing the gap for the championship. He's tightening it up once again. And so he's only 13 points behind Elliott Sadler, and Ricky is in second place, with Sam Hornish not far behind in third, and Austin Dillon in fourth in points. Unfortunately, he had some troubles this past weekend, and so now he has dropped down to fourth in points. And along with talking about the point standings, I'm very surprised with our points leader and how he did at the Glen. Sadler usually runs pretty well as far as I've seen at road courses, and so I was just very shocked to see that he didn't perform as well as he has in the past at a road course. And it wasn't because of mechanical issues. He didn't get involved in a wreck. I was just taken aback with it, and so wondering what's going to happen this weekend at Montreal, and see if he has fixed the kinks with whatever happened, or we'll see what occurs. Alright, and then at the Glen, of course, we had the Cup race, and if you have not seen the finish, or if you didn't hear from MRN, the Motor Racing Network, that finish, all of those announcers were, you could tell, they were just on the edge of their seats. They were excited. There was so much happening on that last lap. That's probably the best finish that I had seen and heard since I've become a NASCAR fan. That was just insane to listen to. I had to listen to it at the time, and then I was able to watch it back on NASCAR.com later on, and it was as if I was watching it and experiencing this last lap for the first time. I was on the edge of my seat. I couldn't believe what was happening. It was just so exciting, and that's what the sport needs. It was just so exciting, and like I talked about, Brad Keselowski was a class act. He gave props to Marcus Ambrose. Either one of them could have just flat out bumped the other person, sent them into the wall, and gone to the win. But neither of them did. That was a nice, clean, a bumping finish, which was fantastic. And of course, we had a repeat of the 1-2 finish from last year at the Glen. Marcus Ambrose gets his second win in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and he's been another one, like Gordon, that he's ran several races really well in this season, and just hasn't got the finishes like he deserved. And so now Marcus Ambrose too, with that one win, he is also in contention for the second wild card spot. Although it's sad to say he's not in as good of a position as Jeff Gordon is. Marcus Ambrose almost has to have that second win, and possibly even a third win to solidify that second wild card spot. He's got 4 races to do it, so we can see if if he gets 1 win and he runs really well, I think he might be able to pull off that second wild card spot. And then, of course, the controversial last couple laps of people sliding everywhere, the drivers saying there was oil on the track, and some of them even saying they thought it was ridiculous for NASCAR not to throw the caution. Well, we know the spotters, some of them, most of them, didn't see it, didn't notice what was going on. The NASCAR officials could not see it. It was more of a mist, an oily mist that was over the track, and there wasn't like this puddle of oil or this streak of oil. So when it's something obvious like that, it's easy to call the yellow, no matter what's going on in the race. When you cannot see it, I do not blame NASCAR for not throwing the yellow. And of course we had drivers sliding all over the place, which, especially for Ambrose and Keselowski, it made for a fantastic finish. And unfortunately there were some drivers that didn't get great results due to the oil that was out on the track. And so, and also my thought, would we have had that amazing, epic finish if that yellow wasn't thrown? And, you know, it was definitely a nail-biter. At any point during that last lap, they could have thrown the caution, and then we would probably have to go to video play and say, okay, who was ahead, Ambrose or Keselowski, at that point of throwing the yellow? So that would have been a very exciting finish too, but definitely wouldn't have been the same as what we ended up with. And now that we are probably about 2/3 of the way through the season, I've realized this observation. I kind of had an inkling several weeks ago, and you know, it just hit me this week. Where are the Richard Childress Racing? Where are those cars? They're not performing as well as they have in the past, which is a little surprising to me. They are one of those premier camps, and something has gone on at that camp, and it might be, people are speculating, it's losing a personnel to another race team, and that's what's affecting them. It could be that they're just a 3-car team now, so they don't have as much information that they're gathering. Whatever it is, I'm hoping that they're able to change it, because Richard Childress Racing, that's a great organization, 3 strong drivers, and I'm just hoping that those Cup cars can get back to being in contention for wins and just performing well, because they, as far as I know, they're not a threat whatsoever. I mean, they've got 1 driver in the top 10 for point standings, and he doesn't have a win. And the other 2 are pretty much out of contention for the chase. I mean, unless either one of them miraculously gets a win or 2, that's the only way I see them in the chase. It's very sad to say for a great organization like that. And of course, in the past couple weeks, we've had some big changes, especially in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. We've had some seat swapping going on. Of course, we first had Parker Kligerman is now driving for Red Horse Racing. He will be driving the 7 that John King won the first race of the season in at Daytona. And Ryan Blaney will be filling in the Brad Keselowski Racing. He'll be filling in the seat for that truck, but he won't be doing it this weekend. Brad Keselowski being at his home track, he will be driving his truck, which is completely understandable, and I'm very excited to see what Ryan Blaney does in that truck. Parker has ran really well in that truck, and so I'm very excited to see what Blaney can do in that equipment. And then, of course, yesterday, we heard of Kyle Busch Motorsports removing Jason Leffler from the 18 truck. I'm not surprised whatsoever. And because he hasn't performed like he has in the past in NASCAR. He ran pretty well last year in the Nationwide Series, and just this year, he's just not doing well. I mean, again, like I pointed out earlier, Pocono was his only great race that he's had so far this season. And so it does not surprise me whatsoever that Kyle Busch decided to take Jason Leffler out of that 18 truck, and he's putting his brother Kurt in the truck. So we will see what Kurt can do in the truck equipment. Now, I think Kurt has probably run truck races before. I can't exactly remember personally the last time he was in a truck. I don't know if I've seen him race in a truck. So, I apologize if he has in the last couple seasons, and I just am not thinking of it. But I'm excited to see what Kurt can do in the truck, especially since in the Nationwide Series, he's gotten Kyle. It's hard with these brothers. Why do they have to both start with the same letter? But Kurt got Kyle Busch his first win in the Nationwide Series, and his first season in the Nationwide Series. And so I'm excited to see what Kurt can do in the truck equipment. And before we get to our fantasy, I have a bone to pick, and this is with a certain driver. I'm not going to name anyone, but if you watched the show before, you know that I've been a huge fan of this driver. But news that has come out in the last couple weeks, I am slightly a fan because he is a good driver, but I'm not pleased with choices that he's made in his personal life. And of course, you might know of the situation, but one of the Joe Gibbs Racing drivers has gotten a significant other, not so significant, I don't know, but they will be expecting a nice little bundle in January, and so it's hard for me to support someone, especially with the past that these two have had together. It's hard for me to support someone that does something in their life like that, which to me it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's got to be something going on for that to happen, and I'm sorry, I just can't support something like that. Finally, fantasy. Cheese won this week. Now, I forgot about what happened during the Pocono and Iowa race weekend. I've completely forgotten. And so, Cheese won the Cup fantasy this week. I was unable to get my nationwide picks in for fantasy. The internet decided not to cooperate with me this past weekend, like up until the race started, and so I wasn't able to get those done, but I will give congrats to Cheese for getting her one time in a while fantasy win. So congratulations, Rumi. Of course, coming up this weekend, we've got the trucks and the Cup cars back at Michigan International Speedway, and we're excited to see what happens there, especially since it's going to be a lot cooler this weekend than it was at Michigan the last time they were there. And so it'll be very interesting to see with the new pavement, with the tires and everything. We'll see what kind of speeds that we get there. It sounds like it's going to be very, 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 very fast. So we'll have to tune in and see what exactly happens. And Nationwide is up north. They are with our neighbors to the north. They are visiting the great country of Canada, and they are racing at Montreal, like I've said several times this show. And we have the return of a very familiar character to the road courses. He wasn't there at the Glen, but of course he was a huge story from Road America. We have Jacques Villeneuve returning to the Nationwide Series. Very interested to see what happens with that 22 up in Montreal. And I'm going to start with making predictions for the upcoming weekends. Cheese may decide to do this too, but I know me as the alien, I'm going to start making predictions for the upcoming race weekend. Now, I won't be saying this specific person will win. I'm going to make a general prediction, which can be easy to do. But I'm going to predict a nationwide regular is going to win, not a road course ringer or a road course specialist. I believe that the nationwide regulars are really improving on their road course skills, and I think that any of them have a really good chance. Of course, there are a handful more than others that have a better shot at it, but I believe that we're going to have a nationwide regular win in Montreal. For the Trucks and Cup in Michigan, I'm going to predict another first-time winner in the trucks. Could be someone from the Red Horse Racing Camp. It could be something from the Richard Childress Racing Camp. How amazing would that be for the Richard Childress Truck Camp if they could get 2 truck races in a row and both of their drivers get their first time truck wins. So that would be very interesting to see if that happens. Very exciting. And in the Cup race, I'm going to predict a Roush car to be in victory lane. Boys, we need to get it together. One of you needs to get in victory lane. It's been too long since we've had Jack Roush in victory lane, so one of the 3 of you, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, I'm expecting to see any one of you 3 in victory lane in the Cup race. That would be a huge boost for that camp. They've kind of been put on the back burner, I think, recently, and it's time to bring you guys to the forefront. You can do it, Ford. You can do it. Greg, Matt, Carl, any of you 3 can do it. Okay, I think I've rambled on long enough. Too much to talk about with 2 races, 2 weekends of races to get in, and of course, all the news in between. And hope you enjoyed this episode of the Cheese and Alien Show, and hope you enjoy this week's racing at Montreal, as well as back up at Michigan. Hope everyone has a wonderful week.